that time of year they're starting to harvest the field back here. It's kind of making it a little dusty and not super enjoyable to work on. Cassie and I started making the pad, so I was digging this out. I want to use this concrete so I can actually kind of clean it up a little bit easier when I'm scraping ash out of this boiler. And as I was digging it down, I got lucky. There's a rock base under here. It must have been when they had livestock out here previously, or I don't know. I'd imagine that's what it was. So we leveled this pad here with the tractor and a little bit of raking. Cassie did all the hard work. But now I just need to build a form so I can pour the concrete pad to be able to set the boiler on it. And the dog is trying to find some mice. Perfect. Did all that work. I really didn't need this piece over here. That's okay. We'll figure it out.
I purchased this wood boiler on September 1st, and the day to get it working was October 28th. So it took me just a little under 2 months to get it repaired, set up, and working. Now one thing is, I had never done concrete before. Building the form was no problem, but this was definitely a learning experience. So it took me a little bit longer than what it probably should have, but in the end, I was able to do it.
Unfortunately, we ran out of time last night to pour any concrete. We got all our forms up. We live about an hour away from any type of Menards, Lowe's, Home Depot, you name it. We had a local lumber yard, but they were already closed to be able to buy any of the concrete mix. We went to the store, we picked up 20 bags of crete. I only think it's gonna take us about 14, but I wanna make sure I had plenty. And by the time we got home and ended up leveling all this form, we just ran out of daylight. That's all it is to it. I wanted to do it yesterday, but by the time we went there, that was a 3.5 hour trip or so, and it's half the day. Happens. That's the downfall of living out in the middle of nowhere. Because as you can see my house in the background, I want to be able to eventually, if I use this, run my water line to the house and use a heat exchanger in the house and also heat the house if it works out good enough. There's just less stuff in the way. The last reason, and probably the best reason why I did it, is we have this barn here. Being able to keep it inside and dry will be a big deal for us. I won't have to be digging snow off of it. It won't have any moisture content. Dry wood burns better, obviously. So that's the whole gist of why I selected to put it right here. There was a little bit of thought process behind it for once. Now I need to get that generator that everything's parked up front of, so we can power the cement mixer. That's a good start. Maybe we'll be able to move the gas. Two for two. Won't start. You know the generator's not gonna start. There's not a chance. Well, none of them wanted to start, so I did the smart thing and manhandled this off to the side, which if you've ever moved a grasshopper or a turn, they don't roll. There's really no neutral. So I just lifted it. So now I should be able to get this out that door because of course there's no room to fit it. Today's starting off great. All right, now we got that done. Guess what? Am I surprised? No. Am I disappointed? A little bit. Good thing it has a pull start. We are 3 for 3. Kicking butt today. So today's kind of a big day. As you can see, we have the pad poured behind us, and fortunately, I had to put a new control panel in it. I just couldn't get the timer or the display screen out of the other one. It was fighting us. Even we wicked all the solder out of it and it just wasn't coming. So we did buy a new one of those. I had to spend some money, but luckily I got such a good bargain on this one that it's not quite as big of a deal to buy a new one. I've kind of been in a scramble this evening. I finally found someone that had a skid loader close by. They're driving it here now, so we can go ahead and lift it up off the trailer and put it on the new pad. Got it on the concrete. My dumb self forgot to hit record on the GoPro. But either way, it went really smooth. Pulled it off the trailer and put it on there. Now we just have all this wood that we need to get into the barn back here. I need to start trenching the water line to get it back to the shop, which hopefully won't be too bad. We'll see if we can get the equipment tomorrow or Tuesday to get that done. Getting closer. It took a couple hours. The Mini X definitely made it a lot easier. I'm glad I did it because the ground was so hard. Like, it was tough. I'm really fortunate to have the friends that I have, just that they have access to this and ongoing friendships. I'm so thankful for those that I've made over the years. So I don't know what I'd do without you guys when you guys help me out like that. So anyways, enough of the sappy crap. Right now I'm trying to get this green foam sprayed, I don't even know what to call it, this green foam insulated water line into the pit, and it's tough to work with. It's very tough to bend. So we'll see if I can't get it formed in here before the chickens fill in the trench. That was a lot of work. Doesn't look like it, but since that stuff doesn't bend, you can really kick a guy's butt. It's still gonna be kind of hard to bend right here where it goes along the side of the building. Technically, you're supposed to drill the floor, bring it through the bottom of the floor if you want to dig underneath the building. I'm not gonna do that because truthfully, I don't even know if this is gonna work out for me yet, and I just don't want to put any holes in my concrete. I have an idea to bring it in through the outside. I'll show that in this video as well. But for right now, while the chickens backfill my trench, it's about the only time they've ever been helpful since we've gotten them. While they backfill the trench, I'm gonna go get the tractor so I can start backfilling the trench. Why didn't you guys remind me that I needed to put my electrical line in? This is what happens when you spend all day doing something and you just get ahead of yourself and you don't slow down to think what you need to do. So now I need to knife in some electrical, which is awesome. At least the ground's not as hard and it doesn't have to be as deep as what the water line is. So I should be able to make that go pretty quick. But still, that's awful. What an idiot. Happens. I'm not perfect, but might have learned something. Just slow down a little bit. Why would you turn that on right when I'm getting ready to swear? Is that funny to you? Biggest you ever seen? What are you laughing about?
It looks quite beautiful.
Keep dreaming. That was easy.
So I have my holes dug outside and the box is installed. The lines ran to it. So now I need to get the PEX done on the inside. And how I'm doing it is kind of in tight quarters. So I need to pre-crimp some of my 90s on before I actually put them in the wall. So what we're going to do is just get those going. Deburr it here, and yeah, it's taking a lot longer than what I thought it was going to. But doesn't it always? Obviously, it's on a budget, so when I bought this, the guy gave me some scrap 1-inch PEX, and these are scrap pieces I'm actually going to use to get out there. I bought some new because I'm not quite that cheap, but I still have quite a bit of used. I might even get by and have to use the new roll, which would be pretty awesome. I'm not going to lie to you. Looks good to me. Done. Just like 30 more to go. I got the heat exchanger up. I almost have all the lines done on the inside of it. I still got to run the power lines, but I'm getting close. I had just went to Menards and I spent around $500 between the pump and all the fittings I needed just to get this going, and actually $50 in the PEX line. Then I remembered he gave me all this line, so I get to return the $50 in the PEX line. And as I was looking through his fittings, or the extra hardware he gave me, a lot of these fittings had old PEX on it that he needed cut off and crimped. So I went through and I actually recycled all the fittings that already had line crimped on it. And it takes some time. You have to cut the rings on it, heat up the PEX, pull it off. It doesn't take too long. Pliers, vise, and a little bit of a torch. And anyways, they're obviously a little bit dirty, but I polished them up with the wire brush. And as I was doing this, I was just questioning myself, is it really worth my time? These fittings are anywhere from $3.50 to $8 a piece, depending on if it's an elbow, threaded, you name it. And that's always a good question, is repurposing and recycling stuff worth your time? It's reminded me of a guy named Gene, and I used to talk to him about these things, and I would buy cars in high school, and I might buy a car for $500, throw $200 in parts, and then sell it for $1,200. So I, in my mind, made $500, and Gene would always go, did you really though? Did you count your labor? Your time's worth something. And these things really make me question, is my time worth something? Well, the answer is yes. I always justify recycling something as if there's something else I could be doing during that time that would make me more money versus save me more money. And so when we look at this and we said $5 a piece, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, I repurposed these and I saved $25 in 15 minutes. So that's equivalent in my eyes as if I was making $100 an hour. So my time is worth something, and it is worth recycling some things. Now, if these were 50 cents a piece and I had to go through and spend 10 minutes or 15 minutes doing it all, not worth it. I would just buy them. But we're talking a lot different here. So $25 savings, worth it. Well, we'll get up here. I'll show you what I got installed for it. I finally finished all the plumbing. Once again, still got to do the wiring. I'll get there. But, got the ladder here. As we look at this thing, I got the cold water coming out the top, hot water's coming out the bottom. I put a valve here, and really they make a bleed tee to be able to bleed any type of airlock out of your highest point in the line. I went with the valve because I'm cheap, or as frugal, as one of you guys had commented on. So I'm frugal, and I reused this air valve that came with the stuff that I got with the boiler. So it has a nice cap here so it can be air locked down and it won't drip. And then it also has the valve so I can, of course, bleed the air out of it. The last thing I need to do is take some of this foam, and this is really just water heater insulation foam. They make it for 1-inch diameter pipe, and we'll have to cut it and of course stick it over this just to insulate the lines a little bit more, get a little protection from around these holes because it'll have a little gap, of course. As you can see on this one, I have it sitting on some wood blocks, and one of the reasons why I did that is because I drilled my holes in the wrong spot. The other explanation I have is that I didn't really mess up, is Cassie made a good point that with this heat exchanger, all the metal around it's gonna be hot. These are metal cabinets, and I was like, hey, it's radiant heat, it'll heat the cabinets. Well, that's all great. Other than it can be 165 to 185 degree water. So having, you know, a 185 degree cabinet that you're opening probably wouldn't be ideal.
But this is not a how-to video. Like there's nothing you should be learning from this. I'm gonna wire this myself. I'm confident enough in the wiring that I can do it. If you've never wired anything before, please don't. But if you do decide to try it, a lot of it's matching colors, or unless it's not. Like when you open up the Taco or Taco pump that I'm gonna use, it's actually different colors than what you have. You have a white wire and a yellow wire and a copper wire, and what goes to what? I don't know. You'll have to read the instructions. So they have this wired up, kind of neat. Some people like to hardwire their pumps in. For this, I'm actually going to put an outlet on my pump, and I don't know if you can see it over here, but we're going to plug it into this right here. And that way, if there is ever a pump failure and it's cold outside, I can come out here, unbolt my pump, take it inside, switch the wiring over, come back and put it in. Now I need to strip all this off. And guess what? We'll probably reuse the valves. That was dumb. Never cut towards yourself. Or pull towards yourself. Ow. So I'm installing the pump now and getting all this hooked up. I went with the Taco. I spelled like taco. I'm gonna stop thinking. I'm gonna call it Taco because I'm hungry right now. Skip breakfast. Taco pump 007, and I got it all wired up so it'll plug into the outlet here. Now I just need to hook up my main lines, so that's what we're gonna work on crimping. Been able to reuse all the valves and a lot of the fittings, so it's been keeping it on budget, which has been super nice. Crimp. Dropped it. Too late. I was committed. I'm just not so sure this thing wants to be saved or not. I was getting excited because I was super close to having it done, and not so much anymore. I mean, it's almost there. Was. Brought this in, thought it'd be nice, get it all painted up, fix some of the rust on it. And then while I was here, I figured, why not put a new gasket on it? So I started putting a new gasket on it. And, well, I'll show you. Don't think that big hole is supposed to be in there. So that's kind of a bad deal. So since we're on a budget here, and I'm not gonna order a new door because I don't even know if the furnace is gonna work for me yet, we're gonna kind of fix this an affordable way. I was gonna say a cheap way, but an affordable way. I bought some 18 gauge steel and I cut it up. And we're going to get this in here. It'll fit pretty tight as soon as I clean everything out. And then I'm gonna run some sheet metal screws in my corners. And then with the high temp silicone, I'll go around the edge, and then I'll put my new rope gasket on and put the fire brick back on it. And this should hopefully fix this up for just a little bit, at least to see. If it's not a permanent fix, fine. If it's working great, I'll order a new door or I'll make a new inside piece. It looks like I can actually fix that inner piece if I pull it out. But right now it's rusted in there pretty good, and if I pull it out, I'm really gonna destroy it, and I don't have the steel here to bend a new one. We're gonna give this a shot. Wish me luck. So end result of the door. Got the studs in, pulling that foam brick on, or the fire brick on. And then I went ahead and put all of these 1/4" drive. Now they do stick out a little further than the others, but the rope will go over this. And there's some high temp silicone underneath the plate. And then I'll also put high temp silicone along the seam over the top, and then I'll glue my rope on. But before I put the rope on, I'm gonna go ahead and put it on the wood stove itself. That way I can shut the door after I glue the rope on and have some pressure to hold it on and let that silicone dry. The door's on. I got the new rope seal on. It's all kind of silicone. You can see the new stuff through there. The door shouldn't have had the whole center of it rotted out. And the reason why I had it rotted out like that was because obviously looking at this machine, it's been on fire, been really hot, not necessarily on fire. And extreme heat will definitely burn out or wear steel like that. So knowing that I had that extreme heat, that tells me something. That tells me that there's way too much airflow in this machine. It had a lot of air leaks, and because of that, obviously oxygen and fire make a lot of heat. So I'm putting that new rope seal in, and then I'm checking out all the other seals in. And one of the things I've noticed here is if I look at this door, this right here is the edge of the firebox. And you can tell that that seal is barely catching it. And when I actually lock it, it pretty much pulls it off the seal. Now, I can tighten these right here. You can actually see had fire coming out here. So I tighten these down here to suck the door in tighter. But this door is not adjustable. So I removed the handle, and as I kind of suspected, there is no adjustability, which is really too bad. I gotta try to figure out how I'm gonna bring this door up. I don't really want to bend it or do anything like that, because, well, it's just more work for me. And I'll kind of show you why it's stuck in there. You follow this ridge right here, you can tell that the seam is in the middle of the seal, and as we come across, all of a sudden, it's just barely at the very edge, barely pushing. Doesn't have even enough to roll over. We come down to the bottom, look at that, right in the middle of the seal like it should be. So that's going to be a problem, and that has been a problem, and that's probably some of the issues to this whole machine. Now I got to find a solution. Got a little dark last night, but I did fix the door. I ended up using this tractor jack right here. I put it underneath the door and jacked it up and kind of tweaked the door up, and then I made some modifications right here and put a standard bolt in it. Got all the rollers and stuff working well. Seal seems to seal a lot better. I don't know yet. I haven't seen any smoke because I haven't lit it up. We got the chimney up there now. I've already fired it up to hear the fan go. What I really need to do now is start the fire in it. Now, I've seen some people on YouTube use weed burners to do it all. I'm gonna use a MAP gas torch first. I do have the weed burner, but we'll use the MAP gas to get it started. I'm a little nervous because I gotta let all this burn if it doesn't work out or smother it out. We'll see. I don't really want to dump water to put it out. So we'll let this get started. Hopefully it works out well. I'll update you in a little bit. So I fired it up, and initially as I turned it on, I had a high limit switch issue. The high limit switch issue was triggering everything to shut off for all the fans. So I checked out the wiring diagram, came out, opened up the control box, looked, and there was actually no high limit switch in it. So that's awesome. What I ended up doing is I just bypassed the high limit. I just stuck a wire between it. I will get a high limit switch for it. I mean, that's for safety and not to burn down the machine. But I really wanted to see if it worked before I paid whatever a high limit switch is. So it got it going, and then I ended up with a thermocoupler issue. So that was a code A1, great, whatever it is. This thing was seized in there. I got it out, and this is what a thermocoupler looks like for this machine. And it looks like I might have broke it when I was cleaning it. And that happens. I mean, like I said in another video, I have no clue what I'm doing. Wish I wouldn't have broke it, or it was already broke before. I really don't know. Either way, it's not working. The machine still works without it. Right now, you can't see, it says the water is 124 degrees, and it's actually on stage 2 and 3. What that means is it's using the smaller solenoids to let air in versus the big primary one, and that's just so it doesn't get too hot too fast because it has no idea what temperature the reaction chamber is. So it's taking a lot longer than it probably should for the water to get up to temp. It says I can't turn on the pumps. Whoa, that sun is bright. Step back, whoop. There we go. It says that you can't turn the pump on until the water is at 150 degrees. So it's just taking a lot longer with the smaller solenoids opening. What I didn't show you in another video is me taking this front cover off and cleaning up all the little solenoids that open up the air flaps, taking the boots off, cleaning them, lubricating everything that I needed to, and putting it back together to make sure it works. What I am excited about is it's showing that everything's working. Solenoids are doing what they should. When I first turned it on, the primary solenoid was working, which is great, but then thermocoupler issue is a problem. So I'll have to order a new one of those, which adds another $150 to our total. I'll give you a total of what I have in it in the description,
just so you guys can see. I think I want to say I'm right around $2,500 or $2,600 in the full install, including the line, the heat exchanger, all the extra parts, you name it. Good news is that this thing works as a really good pointer. Broken heater couple. It's like a wand. Anyways, you see a little smoke coming over here, but all of this seal is not leaking after we adjusted the doors. I am getting some smoke where I use this bolt here, and I tried smearing some silicone on it. Didn't fix the problem. I know how I'm gonna fix the problem. I just can't do it right now. I need to put a big body washer on the other side of that bolt that I put in there, and that'll seal that up. I'll just put some high temp silicone behind it, and it should seal it up just fine. So far, everything's looking airtight. It's looking like how it should, other than that latch bolt. So that's pretty awesome. I think it's gonna work. Here shortly, we'll get to turn the heat on in the shop. It's really a beautiful day out. I should have the doors open on the shop, but I wanna make sure that this thing's working before wintertime. So to give you an idea what that meant by stage 1, 2, 3, we'll open up this door here and show you right now. You can see we got a solenoid right here. That one's open, this one's open. We got our blower motor here. So this is stage, obviously 2 and 3, stage 1. So it's coming through here and it's feeding it right through the tube back there into the firebox. So the water temp's up to 160. I should be able to turn on the heat exchanger now. But feeling the in and outs, it just doesn't feel like the water's circulating hot, which I would think if the heat exchanger is not on, it should be hot on both lines right now since it's going in a loop and nothing to cool it down. But the cold line's still cold and it's been like that for about 10 minutes. So I don't know if I have a restriction in the unit itself or the heat exchanger. I'm not really sure. But it does feel like water's coming back. Anyways, we'll turn on the heat exchanger, we'll see what happens. Right now, it's 56.5 degrees in here. Heat definitely came out of it when I first turned it on. Not as hot as what it should be. All right, this thing's been going for about an hour now, and I know I need to wire this into the wall, but it's 65 degrees. So this thing, as you guys were seeing me initially test it, wasn't working like I thought it was. I ended up tearing the pump apart and trying to figure out what was going on. And I ended up having to take everything apart and back blowing the line to get the debris out of it, just because that burner has sat for so long. There was just a lot of gunk and crap in it. So I tore it apart, back blew it, and then all of a sudden I had heat. So now we're getting everything going. Burner's working great. It's kicking on and off like it should be. So now we're just gonna have to wait till the morning and see where it's all at. I think that I'm gonna need to flush this system a couple times. And I know that I've said that earlier in this video, but after seeing the water in it, it's just gonna have to happen from sitting for so long. But overall, this is the end result. It's working pretty well. If you guys have any questions, please post them below. Any input or advice on using this thing, also let me know. I don't think that I really need to go on any detail of cutting wood and how we split it and doing all of that stuff. But overall, this took a lot longer than I thought it was going to, but the end result, I think, is gonna be a good one. Thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe to my videos if you'd like to see more like this.